Nice, so it's about that time we update our monthly to this video, this time for the start of the new year, January 2024. December, of course, is a pretty big month for Bleach Praise Souls, celebrating the end of the year with an absolute bang, new 1000-year Bloodwork characters, and these are easily some of the best characters in the entire game. Within the month of December, though, we did get 2 rounds of resurrections, so we are back on track to getting 2 resurrection batches a month on a common basis. And with that, Can't Feel on World resurrections have finally started, so that's kind of exciting. We've yet to see how regular these resurrections are going to be. For all we know, we might be getting Can't Feel on World Round 2 resurrected in a couple days, and if that's the case, that means Toginada's resurrection is coming potentially within the next month. We did get Chris's characters resurrected too, nothing too crazy, but we did actually include their rankings in our last series video. As for the new characters though, we did get 6 characters this month, 3 1000-year Bloodwork characters that end off the year, but also 3 pretty cool Christmas characters, I must say. Caleb is slowly but surely making mid-month characters actually worth talking about, and while there's still a gap between mid-month and end-of-month characters, these have easily been some of the more impressive mid-month characters today. So with that said, as always, we're here to update our tier list. When it comes to our rankings, we value 3 main things: usability, damage and range, and of course also survivability. If you excel in all 3 of those things, you're most likely going to be near the top of the list. And first up, we're starting off with the heart tier list. In this case, we got 1 new resurrectable character, that of course being Grimjow. Currently he was sitting at the top of C tier, and while his resurrection is a good one, we've yet to showcase the character officially just yet on the channel, but he picked up some pretty good skills. His original soul trait being 20% strong attack damage, now being that with the addition of low stamina, is pretty cool, albeit a tad bit niche. He got more range thanks to his innate ability with the Havoc skill. He picked up the reach shot that he desperately needed. He got more damage to lacerated enemies. And to go alongside that, an increased chance to inflict status ailments against mind attribute Aaroniero, which is kind of cool. Overall, the character is quite solid now, in my opinion. The only thing, of course, he does lack is Havoc. But I'd honestly like to think it was a decent enough resurrection to at least knock him into B tier, albeit probably near the bottom of B tier around here. Maybe I'm downplaying the resurrection. Haven't had the best opportunity to try him out when he's officially wants to be used against mind attribute Aaroniero. We definitely will showcase him on the channel when we can. And depending on how he plays, we might move him a tad bit, but for the most part, he's going to stay around B tier. That then takes us into our first character to put on our tier list, the new Christmas version of Yachiru, and she's kind of interesting. Now for starters, we have a closer look at the character. Let's look at her damage output. She is, keep in mind, supposed to be a farming character. With that, she farms droplets, strictly droplets, which in a way is a problem for her, because when are you ever just farming droplets? Usually you like to farm both links or potions and droplets. Droplets are always seen as a bonus. In this case, she's one of the fewer newer characters to strictly focus on the droplet increase. But with that, in terms of damage, she has Frenzy +2 and a 60% Berserker. That's kind of high for a mid-month farming character, I'm gonna be honest. It does come with the understanding that she herself does not have Havoc, nor can she inflict status ailments. But Frenzy 2 and 60% Berserk, I was relatively surprised with that. She comes with some extra good utility effects too, healing your team by 20% every time you move into another map. She even reduces their cooldown, one of the skills that make Killgate OP the best heart character currently in the game. On my tier list. Now, obviously, Killgate has more stuff going for him, but it was crazy to see them put that on a Christmas character. But she also does have a good selection of strong attacks, with the addition of being able to support your team with the barrier SA2. Now, unfortunately, she doesn't have the best killer, that being at Squad 0. Could be useful for guild quests. She doesn't excel in that game mode, but she is a decent option there. She's a very weird character to rank because she has a lot of good going about her, but the thing is, when are you ever going to use her, right? The only reason why you would want to use it is to farm droplets, and at that point, to be fair, her damage doesn't matter that much, but it is good. It is good. I want to say near A tier, in my opinion. You know, you could argue like top of A tier. Second place A tier, I think, is a good spot for her. She honestly is quite surprising. In a way, you could say she's the jack of all trades, master of none type character. Like, you could even use it in Limit Breaker to make your other heart characters better if you do lack Killgate. In her case, she won't be clearing as fast as Killgate, of course, because she's nowhere near his level, but she does have a lot of great things about her. The only thing that's in a way bad about her is her killer and Havoc, which to be fair, you can say about a lot of mid-month characters. But in her case, I feel like you got a lot more good to say about it. Honestly, a character that really surprised me when I played with her. And I think it's quite cool that this character actually got this treatment. I feel like she deserves it. But then that, of course, takes us to one of the main characters. The main character, in fact. The new true Shikai Ichigo. There's a lot to talk about him. So first up, let's look at his damage output, right? He comes in Frenzy +2. When you inflict his status ailment, you get an 80% stat boost to your Spiritual Pressure stat. He can inflict 2 status ailments, that being Weakening and also Lacerate. He has an increased chance to inflict status ailments, but only against his 2 killers, or 2 types of enemies more so, Soripers and Quinties. The first of its kind, usually it's only to a certain attribute. In his case, he doesn't care about attribute. As long as he's going against Quinties and Soripers, he has that increased chance to inflict status ailments. making it easier for him to keep his SP boost, but at the same time, he also then has 2 skills that allow him to do 100% more damage to those enemies that he does inflict with status augments. This allows him, of course, to hit really, really hard, assuming he can inflict status augments on a more regular basis, like when he does have Killer. He, of course, comes with a great set of strong attacks, SA1 being a beam, SA2 being a lunge, and his SA3 being one of the best strong attack 3s in the game, in my opinion. The unique thing about him is to get a good Jujutsu attack, and in my opinion, it almost has no downside to it. Usually, these gimmick attacks have something bad about them, but in Ichigo's case, you can just tap it once, it's a normal strong attack. 1200 AoE radius in front of him. You want to charge it, but you realize someone's coming close to you, well, you can let it go, and you still get an additional attack that is more powerful than a normal SA3. But if you fully charge it, and it's only a 2-second charge, you then let off a second attack, the final gets a good Jujutsu. This allows him to hit ridiculously hard, especially in those game modes like Guild Quest and Limit Breaker, when there can be some quite tanky enemies. Alongside that, though, he has some extra utility effects. Of course, he has Havoc, he can hit hidden enemies. He has Bombardment +1, so his Soul Bomb's hitting harder. He has built-in Poise, Long Stride, and also Sprinter +2. There's a lot to commend about this character, and easily, to no one's surprised. I mean, before the character even came out, we knew they'd be SS tier, right? It's the end of the year banner. But where exactly would we place him in SS tier? Well, this is where it can get a bit controversial, right? I think he's easily tied for number 1. The thing is, right, Kyoge is still such an insane character. And in all honesty, you could argue Kyoge is still number 1. You really can. Each character, Ichigo, despite still being perfect, and even Kyoge, they have cons to each other, right? They have good things about them, they have bad things about them. And the bad things are hardly even noteworthy. They are easily competing as some of the best characters in the entire game. In a way, you can go back and forth between who's better of the two. For me, though, I feel like I'm just going to edge it out to Ichigo. Maybe that's recency bias. I don't think it is. As someone that owns both of these characters, I feel like Ichigo is like, let's say, a 10 out of 10, and Kyoge's a 9.98 out of 10. Obviously, personal preference comes down to you and which one you want to use. You can both use any of these characters any way you want to. Kyoge technically has the advantage in Limit Breaker. Ichigo in Guild Quest, you can use him in more Guild Quest weeks. Kyoge has the built-in healing with Drain, but Ichigo has the complete stats immunity. You can stop the enemies from even attacking you in Guild Quest when you inflict Lacerate, which again, you have an increased chance to do so. And then Ichigo, thanks with SA3, in a way has a higher damage potential. You can clear really fast with both characters, but especially Ichigo. Using both of these characters in Limit Breaker have been an absolute treat. They play well together, and that, of course, is thanks to Kyoge's team buff, where he is able to reduce the strong attack cooldown for all your heart characters. There's no debate, Ichigo is one of the best characters in the game. Easily an SS tier character, but as I already mentioned, you can easily argue for Kyoge to still be better. I would say right now they're definitely tied for number 1, but I'm slightly giving the edge to true Shikai Ichigo. But that's essentially all we have to talk about when it comes to the heart tier list. I think I'm quite happy with the list right now. Let's move on to the next one, which is the power tier list. In this case, we received no new character, so I wouldn't be surprised if this upcoming end of month does bring us a new power super Linkstop farmer to obviously farm technique Linkstop potions. Super Linkstop potions at that. In this case though, even though we didn't get a new character, there of course is still some changes to be made. In this case, Nelio did get resurrected this month, and it's an unfortunate resurrection, but I do kind of like the idea of it, I will be honest. Now, Nelio, for those that aren't aware, has a really cool and unique normal attack string that could easily be broken if given to the right character. And unfortunately, Nelio was not the right character. Even with this resurrection, Kayla for some reason always wanted it to be a hybrid, and hybrids in this game just don't work. Her resurrection has a lot going for it though. They give her 40% more damage to weakened enemies, 20% of that you can give to your entire team. Her bruiser and berserker value also went up. Currently right now she has 100% bruiser. With that, she has an increased chance to inflict status augments. She can apply weakening, has a vortex SA2. She picked up havoc, so her strong attacks now have more range, including that vortex as well on her SA2. And then she also got more range on her already insane lunge normal attack damage string. So everything about this character is in a way perfect, right? The only thing she's lacking is damage, and that's the biggest problem with her. Hachi picked up guard break, and in a way, when going against Aranka, she doesn't need guard break, but no flurry just ultimately hurts this character. She really could have had a good resurrection, and I still think it is a good resurrection. It's just not enough for like you to even potentially use her. Currently right now she's sitting in C tier. I think it moves up into B tier, probably around just below 1000-Year Blood or Orihime. Now with that, one of the changes that I also do want to make is of course changing our SS tier. I still think these 3 characters are SS tier, but we're going to officially put Ruki as number 1. Last month, when we talked about her, there's a lot to praise about her. A lot to praise. High damage output, Frenzy +2, Rampage, increased chance of status augments, more damage to frozen enemies, SP boost. She's an amazing character with a slight drawback on that SA2, it being classed as a melee attack. I feel like does hurt her. It's a problem that this character has that the other two characters do not have. But even having said that, I feel like I nitpicked that one problem a bit too much. Still think she's an SS tier character. My opinion of her hasn't really changed all too much, but I think on a tier list like this, if you're a new player, for example, if you were to pull Yamamoto, Rukia, or Ichigo, you probably would be more impressed with Rukia. She is, after all, the newest character of the bunch, but I feel like she does deserve her praise. Maybe we didn't give that to her in the original tier list that we did do last month when we updated our tier list. But yeah, overall, very strong character. Of course, one of the main things about it is how usable she is going to be every single month in Limit Breaker, if you do, of course, want to use her there. She's a character I don't currently own, but definitely hoping to pick up sometime in 2024. Either way, though, that's the power tier list. Very short one. Let's move on to the next one. And in this case, it's the mine tier list. One of the ones I was looking forward to updating. Now, we made some miscellaneous changes. We moved up Tag Team Shuei. I feel like his usability in Guild Quest has gone up. Definitely think he deserves to be at least an A tier, given that you can actually use him in 2 weeks of Guild Quests. We moved up for Logico, top of B tier. Aaroniero also got moved up. I didn't actually realize how high his damage output was when he isn't attacking an enemy with a status when inflicted. For those that don't know quickly how Aaroniero does work, he does more damage to enemies not afflicted with an ailment, but in Guild Quest, you're most likely going to inflict an ailment. But even having said that, it's like still Flurry +1 with like a 70% bruiser and more damage in Guild Quest. When the enemy isn't inflicted with status, it's insane damage. When they are inflicted with status, though, it's still really good damage. Still could probably even argue S tier in my opinion. But I feel like maybe top of 8 suits them a tad bit better. One character though I do want to move up. Maybe you won't necessarily agree with this, but in due time you will start to appreciate this character. We have Tag Team Shuei. I kind of forgot. I always forget for some reason what this character can offer. For those that aren't aware, we are currently starting to see a new rise of a certain archetype of character. That being a really strong, solid support. That originally started with Akon when he got buffed due to the character being bugged. And these type of characters offer 20% strong attack damage to their entire attribute, or just to a certain type of character. In Shuei's case, it's only to mind attribute Soripers. But then they also allow them to do 40% more damage to enemies afflicted with an ailment. And whenever we get a certain character that matches those requirements, in this case a mind attribute Soriper, they just get so much buffs from this character. Like that extra 60% damage is very noteworthy. It's one of the reasons why Yacha Unohana can still be debated as the best character in the game, thanks to the fact that she can use someone like Akon and also Shinji just to get significantly more damage. They already do insane amount of damage to begin with, that the extra damage they can get from these supports is better than having anyone else in your team. So it's because of that reason I do feel like Shuei does deserve at least the bottom of S tier, just for that support value alone. More so when, of course, it comes to Guild Quest content. And as of right now, realistically, the only character you're going to use that with is 7th Anniversary Ichigo. And he's not like he's still an SSC character in my opinion, but he's definitely not a contender for top 3 characters in the game. But any future mind characters that we get that are Soripers, the better they instantly become, thanks to the fact that Shuei does exist. And a mind Soriper shouldn't be that common, right? We're probably going to get a lot of those in the future, maybe even in 2024. With that said though, we did get one new resurrectable character this month, that being Ikone. Really solid resurrection, picking up more range thanks to the 20% havoc with their innate ability. They got 20% more strong attack damage, which they do give as a soul trait. They then picked up an additional 20% berserker, and also 20% more damage to weakened enemies. Really wish that weakened enemy skill was something else, an increased chance to inflict stars, guard break even. Just something extra, because that weakening damage doesn't really do much for someone like Ikone, but it is a really good resurrection. I would say right now, probably around here, maybe just above Jackie. Maybe you could even argue about Shads. I think Ikone is a solid character, still a B-tier character though. That then, of course, takes us into the newest characters of the month. In this case, our first character, a mid-month Christmas Grimmjow. Now, regardless how good or bad he is someone that you potentially want to use and actually get, since he is a +10 Heart Linksop Potion character. That makes him valuable. Of course, makes him good, but it makes him valuable. Now, in terms of how good he is, I think, again, he's a solid character. Now, when it comes to farmers, they usually, especially mid-month ones, that are Linksop farmers, not super Linksop farmers, they don't always have, like, the craziest, highest of damage outputs. Especially, again, mid-month characters. In Grimmjow's case, though, for starters, if we look at his damage output, he has Frenzy +1. When you inflict a star element, which you have an increased chance to do so, by the way, you get an 80% stat boost to your spiritual pressure stat. He's the first Linksop farmer that we've seen get the SP boost that isn't a brand newish character, so I'd like to think that's quite noteworthy. With that though, you do 40% more damage to drained enemies. He inflicts drain, by the way. That allows him to potentially stay at full stamina, and his soul trait is 35% strong attack damage. Like, he has a lot of damage going for him. Good survivability too, given the fact that he does have drain. Does more damage to drained enemies as well, that he actually gives to your entire team if you are a mind attribute attribute Aranka, and he was also given Havoc. So what an insane mid-month character, right? I would like to think that's an instant S tier. I will say though, he does have a very weird type of gameplay, I'll be honest. His SA1, SA2, and even SA3 are all Vortex-like attacks. It's the first time we've seen a character get all 3 of these attacks in one package, especially his SA3, which traditionally is a strong attack that you get as an SA2. In fact, currently on world Aaroniero got that SA2, and we haven't seen it return in the game for quite some time. And to see it return, but technically be better as an SA3, was wild to see, I'll be honest. I think you definitely have to play with him to get a tad bit used to him, since it is type of different gameplay. His killer, by the way, being Quincy, is also quite noteworthy. I'm honestly really tempted to put him right below Nini. Maybe I'm ranking him too high. Maybe I am. He is, at the end of the day, a link shot farmer, and that's the only reason why you ever are going to use him. But his damage output, I think, is really good. When it comes to links of farming, you want to have high damage output, because that's what determines how fast you clear the content, especially in something like epic raids. He's easily able to stay at full stamina, he's constantly inflicting drain, and his lack of range, while it might be a tad bit of an issue in Limit Breaker, maybe even Guild Quest, where he wants to be used, honestly, is perfectly fine. I think maybe below Lisa is a tad bit better here. Funny enough, they're both mind characters with Quincy Killer that do more damage to status afflicted enemies. In Grimjow's case, though, I think he has better survivability, so yeah, I think I'm going to put him just below Nini, just above Lisa. Honestly, really solid mid-month character, definitely surprised me. What didn't surprise me, though, was a new Broken Yuha, who, in my opinion, we're eventually going to do a top 10. I would say he's the best character in the game, bar none. Easily number 1 SS tier for mind attribute. Deserves this. Really, really does deserve it, especially when you look at the current Yuha, the first one that is sitting in D tier. Man, was this character disappointment. This Yuha, though, definitely not. So what exactly makes Yuha the best character in the mind attribute? Well, for starters, let's look at his damage output. Frenzy +2. When you inflict a status element, you get an 80% spiritual pressure boost. With that, he comes built in with a 40% berserker, can inflict weakening in all of his attacks, and he has a good set of strong attacks. Some of the best strong attacks in the entire game, most noteworthy though his SA2 being a distant AoE into a tracking vortex. He is the first of potential many characters with the enemy defeated bonus, a new system that gives you new skills the more kills you get. It's similar to Rampage, but in a way technically better, because it isn't just about getting more damage. In this case, though, he does get more damage, 20% melee damage, 40% Berserker, 60% Devastation, and keep in mind, he already has 60% Devastation built in, with weakened defense, mind you, and then at 80 kills, he gets a extra soul bomb. He's the first character in the game that can use 2 soul bombs, and that, in my opinion, is absolutely powerful. Well, every game mode can't offer that. You know, Guild Quest, there isn't enough enemies, but in co-op, any quest that's long, especially Limit Breaker, where this character is designed for, being able to use 2 soul bombs where anyone else can only use 1, I think is quite powerful, and it allows him to actually clear faster than characters specifically designed in mind for inheritance trials. And the fact that he comes with a good set of strong attacks, he's immune to every status element. He's a fast character too, given the fact he has Sprinter +2 and Long Stride built in. And also, most importantly, every time you move into another map, more noteworthy than Limit Breaker, you're reducing your mind attribute character's strong attacks by 20%. So in Limit Breaker, every time you get to use this character, his strong attacks are ready to go when he's next available to be used. And the fact that it gives your team an extra soul bomb probably makes him the best Limit Breaker character in the entire game. You can literally, just like Kilgay, just like Rukia to be fair, and any other character with the built-in recharge in between stages, you can use them in any given month in Limit Breaker. More so with Yuha though, because you let your entire team get an extra soul bomb, allowing you to potentially reach into that next more difficult stage. Nothing but praise for this character, honestly, well deserved too. It has been such a long time. We've had Yuha in the game since the 3rd anniversary, and since then we've gotten 3 Yuhas, but the first 2 were all Brave Battle characters that realistically you wouldn't use outside of Brave Battles. And even then, the first Yuha, as you can see his D's here, was still hard to work with. As the big final bad villain of Bleach, he always deserved better, and now he's rightfully at the top of the throne as, in my opinion, the best character in the entire game. And what makes it even better is that he's a Mind character, because Mind at the start of the year, last year at the start of 2023, was in a terrible position. And right now, slowly but surely, it's gotten way better. We've had access to great characters like Nini, Esno, Balgo, a great farmer in the form of Ikaku. White was an amazing character, still is. And now we have access to the best character in the game. It feels good, and it feels good in the Mind attribute. And it also feels good that it's a Yuha Baha. With that said though, moving on to our next one, the Speed attribute. In this case, nothing really to change here besides I want to actually move up Lily Nets She's currently in B tier. In Guild Quest, Ranger Ranka, pretty good character. Let's do that. And then let's talk about the newest character, that being Neliel. Once more a mid-month character, but definitely not a bad one. Right now, in my opinion, it's a tough one to rank her. I want to say near the top of S tier, honestly. We finally got access to a no attack damage character post 8th anniversary. I'm surprised we haven't been getting any more. But in her case, most importantly, she fulfills the niche that has one been needed to be fulfilled, but also doubles down as a unique type of no attack damage character. In her case, though, she's very similar to Nini and also Ichibe, and by that, when the gauge isn't active, her damage output technically is on the lower side. Not that low, to be fair, for a Nat character. But once the gauge is active, then you're doing more damage. And in her case, she can also fulfill the gauge faster. She starts at 70%. Since she is a gauge character, you have a reason to use your strong attacks. In her case, the SA2 is a boost and also barrier, with the booster skill and multi-barrier skill. She's a ranged no-attack damage character, by the way, that's noteworthy. And when you do fulfill the gauge, you get an extra flurry +1. Built in, though, she naturally has flurry +1, with a 30% no-attack damage as a soul trait, and also 20% more that you can give to your entire team, as long as you are a speed attribute character. She's also immune to every status element, and has built-in 12% recharge, because you know you're going to want to use recharge and full stamina or recharge and no-attack damage as soul traits for this character to make sure that she herself can do damage, but also keep boosting your entire team. In a way, she competes with Aaroniero as one of the best supports in the entire game. Aaroniero still has the advantage, in my opinion, given the fact that she does have the complete stats immunity that she can share to your team. Neliel can't. If she did, probably would also be SS tier. I think right now, top of S tier is actually really good for her. She's a good Nat character. Finally, a new Nat character. Nat, by the way, for anyone new, is normal attack damage. It's characters that specialize doing more damage on their, big bust in the normal attack string. And I think what's most noteworthy about this character is how needed she is. I found out recently how kind of hard the ranged Captain Guild Quest is if you don't have Bambietta or dupes of 6th Anniversary Aizen, even Bambietta herself. There isn't that many good characters. There are good characters you can use, to be fair. But most notably, there's no booster for your team. So it means you're going to have to resort into using characters like Aaroniero. At least you can use that. That's what makes her SS tier. But depending on the other character you are using, maybe their DPS isn't enough. With Neliel, makes your team better. She's a meta character in the Range Captain Killer Guild Quest. And in a way, you can also use it in multiple weeks of Guild Quest just to buff your team and protect them. In Guild Quest, by the way, the quest you want to be used in, she was able to get her gauge off like 3 times, which I think is quite impressive. And even outside of Guild Quest, she just makes for a good Nat character. She has Guard Break. In fact, she has Sharpshooter. She's ranged with the boost and barrier. Honestly, as far as no attack damage characters go, she's honestly very solid. I'd say right now she's like the second best Nat character in the game, just under Aizen. But I think for the speed tier list, I think top of S is actually quite good for her. If anything, you could lower her down to like near the middle, but either way, we all agree she's an S tier character. Easily S tier. And yeah, that's basically it for speed. Nothing else to change. Let's hop into the technique attribute. Now for technique, we got one new character, but there are a few changes that I do want to actually make here. For starters, yeah, I feel like I maybe underplayed Bambietta a tad bit. Definitely deserves S tier still. SS tier, sorry. Alongside that, honestly, as far as Gin goes, he is a really good farmer. You could even still argue SS tier. I'm still going to put top of S. Because I know he's going to get replaced eventually as the best technique super link shot farmer. You can still see him as the SS tier character. That's perfectly fine for me. Top of S is good for him. With that, maybe I was a bit too harsh on someone like Uryu. I personally really don't like his gameplay, but that doesn't mean he should be an A tier character. I feel like he's still a tad bit good. Still does bring value. I just personally don't like the character that much. I like Uryu, just not this character. I don't like playing with him. Our book, you can also argue to still be S tier. Still solid character overall with 2 killers. And then we have Byakuya. Now, I did get a few comments saying Byakuya should still be S tier, but I think now I can safely say, yeah, S tier character. Maybe even above Roka, to be honest. Maybe below Roka. In his case, the biggest problem that he had is that he's a character designed for Guild Quests, but struggled staying at full stamina, where he does most of his damage. Now, of course, if you had access to Gin, you could make it work. You really could. But now that Yuha exists, and Yuha is a merely no affiliation killer, and is really good in Guild Quests with a tracking vortex, very similar to Gin in that way, but just does more damage, and is overall more suitable for Guild Quests, it allows Byakuya to actually be really good. And I was actually able to use both of them in a Guild Quest, and was pleasantly surprised. We did mention it last month, the more no affiliation characters we do get with tracking vortexes, the better Byakuya becomes, and he basically just got his perfect partner alongside the new best character in the game, Yuha Baha. In a way, I doubt you, I'd be surprised if you could make it work. You could even use this juicer again, ultimate supporter for technique soripers. You could put them in the same team to make Byakuya even better too. So that's something that you could actually do. Would you want to do it? I don't think so. But at least you can do that with someone like Ichibei, right? That's what makes him, in my opinion, the best tech character. I think he has more going for him. But the fact that he can benefit from Jushiro's buffs makes him even all the better, in my opinion. Now, with that, we did get one new character, that being 1000-Year Battle Orihime. We are going to do an updated Brave battle to this in the future, in the coming week. Understand, Orihime is a Brave battle character. You don't ideally want to use her in normal PvE content. But the thing is, I guess you can. She was given Sharpshooter, so you definitely can use her outside of Brave battles. The thing is, though, is that most of her skills here are actually Brave battle related, so I don't know if you would want to use her outside of Brave battles, but you definitely can. I think right now, probably below Yukio, in my opinion. In terms of damage output outside of Brave battles, it's Flurry +2. Under half stamina, it's 50% normal attack damage increase. As a technique character, you get access to a really powerful link that works very well with her, that being this Neliel. She can debuff your team, provide a barrier, only a one-hit barrier. She doesn't have multi-barrier skill. And she is immune to paralysis, so if you wanted to use it in the ranged Captain Gilchrist, you definitely can. And you know what, in a way, she actually pairs very well with someone like the Neliel we just talked about, the Christmas one. But in her case, to be fair, she doesn't fit in the most optimal team. In the power attribute, we have access to Segunda Tapa Okura, that just does what Orihime does and better, right? He debuffs the team, he gives the team barriers, so does Neliel, to be fair, and he himself just does more damage. Orihime wants to get a low stamina in GQ. You're not going to get under half stamina, you're really not. So maybe I'm putting her too high. I think maybe around here, like, she's a good character. It's one of those ones where, like, yeah, she's good. Am I ever going to use her outside of Brave battles? Probably not. You can, but she doesn't excel anywhere in there. So you can even argue, like, top 8 here, bottom of S. It's a weird one. It really is. She's always an option, though. Never going to be the best option, but an option nonetheless. But with that said, lads, I think that's basically it for today's tier list video. Overall, December was a great month for Bleach Brave Souls. End of year banner was definitely worth summoning on. Ichigo Yua are some of the best characters in the entire game. Some of my favorites of the entire year. Orihime, while being a Brave Battle character, and of course, she's the best Brave Battle character in the game, also doubles down as a pretty good character in, PvE content. And while we all knew the mid-month banner wasn't really worth summoning on, given that the end of year banner was 2 weeks away, the mid-month banner was also surprisingly good. I'm actually really liking the treatment mid-month characters have been getting as of late. While they might not be the best characters in the game, they easily are some of the more valuable characters in the game and fit niches that need to be fulfilled. Neliel wants to be used in the range Captain Gilchrist. She's meta in there. Grimmjow is a great Linkshot farmer with a surprisingly good amount of damage and survivability. And Yachtlu is kind of a weird one. She farms droplets. She's going to do that well. But even then, her kit and damage output, it makes her a fun character to at least play with. 2023 was a great year for Bleach Brave Souls. Looking forward to 2024. And in literally less than potentially 5 days, we are going to be getting our mid-month banner announcement. And I'm excited to see what mid-month's going to bring us. I'm looking forward to them. Because again, what we have been seeing, mid-months are now actually good. Is this upcoming mid-month going to be good though? That has yet to be seen. But we'll find out this upcoming Friday. Either way, as always, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any reflections on our tier list, let me know in the console below. We'll reflect that next month. But with that, I'll see you lads then. Take care and peace.